Welcome to the second episode of Minted. We are so lucky to have the NFT Steve Jobs, Champ T, founder of Champs Only Pass, one of the hottest and fastest growing NFT influencers, project creators, NFT shot callers, NFT flippers in the space. In less than 1 month, Champ has gone from 900 followers to over 50K, had zero YouTube. Now that's almost over 20K, probably will be past 20K when we launch this video. And we are just so pumped to learn from Champ today. So dude, welcome to Minted.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend, for having me. Grateful to be here. Appreciate you being my gracious host.
Awesome. Well, again, our goal of Minted is to bridge the gap between the centralized and the decentralized. And we're going to start talking about how we're going to dive into the job that you had in the centralized world here in a little bit, and how you realize this community in the decentralized world is really where you can innovate and scale at a faster pace. So we'll bring it from the top. When was the first time you started to learn about NFTs?
August 2021. So that is how many months ago? Like 8 months ago? 6-8 months ago? A good friend of mine and a friend of the show, evidently the Brett way, and I had a very, very extensive conversation about it after I had actually flown him out to do something totally unrelated. Brett used to be a videographer, for those who don't know. He was shooting a music video of mine because I was an artist before all this happened, alongside that Web2 job. And Brett, before all this happened, was doing media for spots out in where he's from and doing videos for artists. So I'd flown him out. He's a friend of mine, and we just talked about it all weekend. Ended up taking the dive the day after he left, the same day he took the dive into YouTube. And obviously things have snowballed or candidly kind of spiraled out of control since then. So
yeah, so like seven months ago, you were just an artist filming a video with the Brett way, who that's right, we just had him on Minted to kick this whole thing off. And he was like, hey, you got to get into NFTs. Did you even know what it was? Or like that literally was like the first time, like you're recording this video, you're like NFTs, you're like, what?
I had like a little bit of an idea, but it had just sort of been a buzzword up until that point. I was lucky enough to be like really easily convinced. I understand some people are very skeptical. For me, it was just kind of like, it took about 20 minutes. I was like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. Like, oh, you bought this for that much and you sold it for how much? Like that started, that was sort of the light bulb moment. And then of course you start to explore sort of the technological capabilities and like what this can really mean for people who use the internet on a daily basis. And it gets a lot cooler. But my knowledge was extremely limited. But if you utilize the resources that are readily available to anybody who has a computer or a phone, which is a computer, it's not that hard to learn.
So you start searching on YouTube, you start, Google searching, like, what is an NFT? Like most people do, like, what is an NFT? What is blockchain? What's Ethereum? What's Bitcoin? You start listening to Brett doing his YouTube videos. And then how long did it take from that learning phase for you to actually like make that first purchase?
They happened in the opposite order of what you just said.
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
The purchase came first.
So the purchase, okay, look, this centralized mindset of like, okay, so you did your research and then you bought, right?
Yeah.
So no, you bought and then you learned.
Which, by the way, I'm not saying that's what you should do. That is absolutely not what you should do. I now, as someone who's deeply embedded in the space, I do a lot of research before the vast majority of any of my purchases. But it's not okay. I didn't do zero research, but I was looking at, it was a Doge Pound. It's called a Doge Pound NFT, right? People who are OGs in the space are familiar with that collection. And I sort of extrapolated a little bit of my knowledge about how traditional markets work. I was looking at the price action of this collection and the volume of buys, which was still kind of foreign to me because I wasn't used to trading liquid assets. And I was like, oh, this kind of looks to be on the bottom of a dip right now. Well, this is a meme that I recognize, the Doge meme. Well, Brett said he bought this pudgy penguin for like $500 and sold it for like 10 grand. I don't really have that much to lose. I'm 22. I don't have children. I don't have a wife. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to just do it. So I did it. And then I woke up the next day up like $1,000, which at that time in my life was a very significant amount of money to me. And that was like the spark plug. I was like, oh my gosh, it's real. You know what I mean? And then comes the due diligence and learning about the space. It's not like I did, like I read the white paper before I bought the Doge Pound. I read the white paper. I was like, this seems solid. Here's some notable like Wall Street Bets people were in the Discord, and there's like some people that I knew, and I was like, oh, there's some people that I trust that seem to make a lot of money. It seems to be on a dip right now. Brett told me it was a good idea. Boom, did it, right? So
you gotta love it, dude. Sometimes you just gotta pull the trigger and just kind of take a leap of faith, and you gotta take a risk. I mean, you kind of relate it to like startups where you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. Like you were an artist before this. How many times were you like wanting to film something and you were just like, dude, I just have to do it. Like I can't just wait. I just gotta make it happen.
Yeah, and I just did it again, right? Because jumping into doing this full time. Like there have been a lot of times where I've had to sort of let go of my safety net or like jump out of the bird's nest over and over again. And I don't think I'll ever have to stop doing that. You're a seasoned business professional. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Like you have to do it over and over again. And it's kind of akin to the startup world. Like it really is. So I think that's a good sort of comparison to make.
So you see the Doge Pound, you buy low, and you make $1,000. You're like, okay, like I want to get into this. This is like August 2021. We obviously talked about Magic Mushroom Clubhouse on the last episode. So then how do you like get incorporated into that? Because you're like one of the founding team members of that. So talk to me about like how did that evolve so quickly?
Yeah. So that was that came about because actually I was doing some audiovisual components or audio components rather for that collection. I was on the phone with Brett and he was like, yeah, like I think you should make us a song for the collection. I was like, okay. And then I made the song and everybody really loved it. And then they're like, hey, you should just come on the team and help us launch this in general. And I was like, yeah. And I didn't have a hugely critical position in the team. I had a pretty small position. But it like I was still a part of it and I got to see every piece of it. And it gave me a lot of insight into how that process works, how you sort of go from A to Z. And when it's your first time launching an NFT project, you go like A to F, back to B to Y, and then X, and then to Z, because there's so many things that are very different than the traditional business world that I came from. But it was a great learning experience. And it also showed me how rapidly you can generate, communities of people that come together not knowing each other and become very good friends and sort of come live in this decentralized Discord community rapidly. People began forming friendships before we even launched, like real friendships. And a lot of those folks that came in the Discord are probably lifelong business partners of the brand now. And that's what gets me excited about NFTs. And that's the same experience I had with launching my own. It's unbelievable the amount of bright minds and talent and work ethic that just pops up out of nowhere in this world. It's really refreshing. It's great.
So you make a song for Magic Mushroom Clubhouse, you become a part of the team, you start to see a little bit of it. Like you're an artist, so you're a creator, like you understand, you like give input into projects, and then if they grow, you try to grow with them. Were you at that time like looking in Discord then? Were you in other communities trying to do the same thing? Or like how did you, like a lot of people, it seems like they stick to multiple communities and they try to like grow within one, and then they find one and they grow up within it. What were you kind of doing, as you were exploring and learning more about other projects?
I was a nomad.
You were a nomad. Okay.
I spent a lot of time in a lot of Discords, but there were like a few where I spent like truly large amounts of time. Magic Mushroom Clubhouse, of course. And then I always had like one or two, there was sort of transitory phase, small, tightly knit groups of folks. And I'm talking like 10, 15, 20 people that I would chat with every single day. And those were like my confidants and my trading friends, and I would attribute a large portion of my success right now to the fact that I was able to find really, really smart people to get in with in a small group setting, because I mean, I still made tons of mistakes, but I avoided a lot more mistakes by just surrounding myself with people that were smarter than me and being willing to sort of humble myself and say, okay, I know nothing about this. Maybe I don't even have to talk that much in here. But not being afraid to ask questions and just sort of shadow and watch moves of people who understood the space, even if I didn't know why they were doing what they were doing. You sort of begin to catch on. And I always say nothing beats time in the market. But that's really how I became more deeply embedded in the space, was getting in some of these tightly knit groups with individuals who had had a lot of success, looking at them and being like, wow, I wonder if it's really possible. And then slowly getting there by stacking small wins, implementing the strategies that people smarter than me used until they became my strategies, until I built upon them and made them my own and can now sort of imbue them upon other people with what makes me unique. And that's, in my opinion, kind of the natural progression from trader to creator.
So, okay. So you start seeing the movement. Obviously, Magic Mushroom Clubhouse sells out 17 minutes, like a super hot project. A lot of big NFT influencers in on that project, whitelist across other main and well-known existing NFT projects out there. You then start trading more frequently and you start flipping, right? And it kind of seems like that's like that middle phase of like, you get in, you see the success, you got in on a big project, you saw the rise of that, and then you started flipping. So, and this sounds like this small, tight knit group of people helped you learn how to flip. What was it, the money? Like, what about the flipping? Like, what did you enjoy so much about it?
So I'm sure it was the money, but it's also larger than that, which I hate saying because it sounds like something that somebody says at a Grammys acceptance speech or at some type of, oh, it's bigger than that. But really, I remember distinctly having this feeling, truthfully, this feeling of like, wow, this is the most exciting thing I have ever done in my life. Like, I have never been, like, it made me feel like I had never actually been good at something before until I found this. Or it made me feel like there is an opportunity to have the edge and be a first mover in something that was going to eat the world in the next 5 to 10 years, which I'm still, I will scream from the rooftops until it happens. It's happening right now. Justin Bieber just dropped 1.5 million or 3.2 on an ape. Doesn't matter. It's going to keep happening, right? Paris Hilton's launching a collection. Anyway, it was the money, but moreover, what makes NFTs so compelling to me is sort of this social aspect, because I had traded coins, and a lot of people that will watch this podcast have probably at least, traded the NASDAQ or have a Roth or something of that nature. And then, riskier folks like to trade options. And then folks that are even a little bit riskier than that like to trade crypto. And, of course, I'm young. I have a pretty high risk tolerance. I was in the crypto market quite a while ago, and I've had a lot of experience and decent amounts of success trading coins, but it was always very not black and white, because it's an entirely speculative market, but it's like watching a line go up or go down. And what made NFTs really interesting to me, and I think what gives younger or creative people, not just younger creative people, but just sort of intuitive people, an edge in this market, is that there's this totally unique social aspect to it, which I think people who don't understand the space use as sort of like a knock on it. Like, like it's a picture, like that doesn't make, but like, yes, that's why it's interesting, because this asset that somebody spent their money on is now also a part of their identity. And then they make a bunch of friends who also use that as a part of their online identity. And there are folks with literally millions of followers who are entirely undoxed, who their entire identity is a digital asset that is also treated similarly by a lot of traders to how you would treat any other risk on assets. So it's this really odd, like, meeting of worlds that, while it seems really confusing and complicated to people who aren't a part of it, is actually more intuitive than any other market that I've traded, because it's like, oh, I get people, so maybe I can use that to my advantage to sort of navigate this market, and it's been a tool that's been extraordinarily useful.
For sure. I mean, I think, the way that people express themselves, whether it's fandom, whether it's representing a sports team, representing a profile picture, is part of identity, but really it's part of being part of that group. And just like your friends that you hang out with, and maybe has COVID accelerated this, of the digital communities and being able to relate with people. I mean, look at your tech job that you had previously to this. I work at a company where I'm completely remote. Everyone is remote. So, having a group of community that you engage with digitally, and yeah, they could be all across the world. It doesn't really matter. Like, that's how the traditional centralized world is now. Like, we do operate all across the world, all online. So it's like, you don't have to have this, we have to go to an office, we have to build this project in person. It's like, we can build these communities online. And I think it's changing how the centralized world is working. So tell me, so you realize the trading, you start to see, okay, I'm successful at making the right calls. When does that go from, okay, now I know that I'm making the right calls, of I need to build this project myself? Like, how do you know when you're ready?
Somebody really, really intelligent that I know from when I used to work in the traditional business world, that very successful, always told me, like, the way to make it where you want to go is to keep asking for jobs that you're not quite ready for yet. I think that there's never going to be a moment whenever you're like, yeah, I'm ready to do this. If you're lucky, you'll have people around you that nudge you in that direction. I was lucky enough to have that in people like Brett, in people like the rest of our kind of squad that we surrounded ourselves with. But I said earlier, I think it's kind of the natural progression, because no matter how much money you're able to make off the backs of other people's success, and by that I mean successfully buying and selling projects that go up in price because they're doing well, I think that most people who are like, builders or entrepreneurs, or want to sort of get to the maximum of whatever they do in life, will reach a point where it's like, in my mind, it was really just like, okay, well, I've been successful at this, but it's all riding on the backs of others. Like, how much more could I kind of multiply this if I retained control of the product and built something on my own? And moreover, it opens doors to alter other people's life situations, and to, not to, again, be like, oh, make a change in the world, but seriously, like, when you watch this space, it's so decentralized. There's so much ability to hide your identity that there are there are lots of high profile bad actors. Like, it happens all the time. And it's nice to be able to put yourself in a position to, do things. I don't want to say like do things the right way, but do you know what I mean? Like it positively impact a much larger amount of people than I would be if I was just personally trading, taking all of that money, spending it on a couple vacations, and then I'm back at square one. So
Yeah, I mean, you got to a point where it's like, okay, I can rinse and repeat this. I need to scale this, like a business. You find the right business model. You're like, I need to scale this. I need to help other people. I want to build something bigger than just myself. And
yeah,
so
it's like the NFT version of you come into a company and you're doing whatever your entry level sales position. Eventually you become a manager, and then you become a regional director, and then you become like, it's just the evolution of people with drive. I think there's just so much more opportunity to expedite that process in this space.
yeah, I mean,
That's what's so exciting.
you did it in 3 weeks. So you decide that you're going to go full send with it. Like, you decided Champs Only Pass. Like, how do you come up with the name? How do you come up with the art? Like, how do you start figuring these? Like, you decided, hey, I'm making the switch. I'm going to make this project happen. how'd you pull it together so quickly, and how'd you figure out like what to do?
By not overthinking it at all. I was like, Champs Only. I thought about that name for like 2 minutes. I said it. I said it out loud, and I was like, "Do you think I think of anything better?" Who was I talking to? It might have been Brett. And he was like, "No, that sounds good." He's like, "Okay, what?" And then we're talking about it. So, what should the art look like? Thought about it for a second, and I was lucky enough to sort of already have a little bit of like a brand to cling to, because that's an entirely different process, because I had sort of established the brand as an artist. And again, like when I thought of the name, the moniker, the whole champ thing, like that was kind of an impulse decision too, because in my opinion, any branding, like it can't be bad, but any branding that's decent, like it becomes cool because of what you do. Like CryptoPunks and apes like weren't what they are when they were founded, and they're not what they are because of the name. They're what they are because of what they did. So I would of course encourage everybody to be thoughtful about determining your brand, because you're going to get stuck with it. Kind of. I say that I actually entirely pivoted my entire brand over the last 3 weeks. It was not nearly as hard as I thought it'd be, but like I would just encourage people not to like, while of course be thoughtful, not to sort of get into that analysis paralysis phase, because the real work happens after you pick something. Like it, you know what I mean? Like you just kind of choose.
So
And it's,
you choose Champs Only's pass. You figure out the artwork. Like, how do you figure out like how to find, like, where do you list on? How do you like actually get the smart contracts built? Like, how do you go about that process?
you gotta, if you want to be the head, the face of a brand, you have to delegate. You have to delegate. So it was really just a matter of sort of reaching out and leveraging every connection that I had built, not by some, I didn't get shoehorned in via like a family's aunt's friend of a friend that happened to know a Solidity developer. You go out into this Web2 world, you could, I swear, you could spend 3 days hovering around Discords asking if anybody knows Solidity. There's so much talent in the industry. You go out into the world, this Web3 world, and you delegate and you find talent. The hard part is not finding talented people. The hard part is finding talented people that you trust. So that's the most time consuming aspect of it, is you have to sort of assemble a solid team. But the good thing about these communities and about the way that all these sort of Discord groups work is that it's a little bit hard. Sorry, it's a little bit hard to explain until you experience it. But I've seen so many like-minded people come together so much more effortlessly than I've seen it anywhere else in my life. And maybe it's just because this space attracts a certain type of individual. I think that's kind of why we're in the NFT renaissance right now, because eventually it will be so popular that that's not the case. But I, everybody that I know that was a piece of this, I knew simply from integrating myself in NFTs. You know what I mean?
You just put
So
yourself, you literally just put yourself out there in like the law of attraction. You're like, I'm an artist. I like to create. Okay, I've found that I'm good at trading. Okay, I can help a lot of people. I need other people to help me do this. Like, I can't do this myself. You come up with the name, and then you just start going, being like, hey, who wants to like support me in this journey? You find your crew of people, and I guess it's that simple, right?
I have a team of brilliant people helping me with my current project. I have one of the smartest people I've ever met developing tools for me in like 2 hours, no matter what the community requests. And you know how I met him? I posted a Twitter post saying, hey, does anybody know, are there any devs who would be interested in working on Discord integrated tools? This dude, he was one of like two, I had way less followers at this time. He was one of like 2 people that DM me. I was like, there's no way that like one of 2 people that DM me on Twitter is actually going to be like worth working with. And I had like kind of forgotten to follow up on it. I end up making the Discord for Champs Only. This dude hops in we have a voice chat that's going on like the day before we launch. This dude hops in VC and is like, hey, DM me on Discord. I told you I want to work with you. I actually already started working on this tool that you mentioned the other day that you wanted to Discord. I literally get in a DM conversation with this. 1 hour later, he's built out like one of the most amazing tools I've ever seen. He's like, yeah, it's integrated now. We can go live now. It's like, dude, we haven't even launched yet. And I have people, I mean, we have like a whole squad now, and every single one of them literally just showed up and like, we just met in Discord.
That's unbelievable. I mean, it just shows like,
you know what I mean?
That's just hustle and hard work. I mean, that's just determination of, okay, you literally had 1 out of 2 people tweet, you don't respond, still so passionate to help build it, jumps into the voice chat. Wow, that's just incredible.
And I feel so grateful that people like that like are so common. And that's not what I'm trying to explain is that's not a unique experience. Like we might watch that and be like, oh, you guys, so like, no, like that's the same thing that happened with Mashing Mushroom Clubhouse. That's what happened with like all these teams. They met on Discord. Like, and then you just go. And because of the way that this stuff works, you can move so rapidly. That I think is a real refresher for people who are used to getting bogged down in like, oh, we got to go to this Zoom meeting, then do this. And then in 2 weeks, we fly out to Detroit and meet with this VP. And then we got to talk to marketing. And then we do this. And then half a year from now, we sign the contract. Like, no, we just go. And it's great.
So you find the team, you get it set up. Like how fast did it sell out? I mean,
44 minutes.
So 44 minutes. And that was just a combination of marketing. It was a combination of getting whitelists with other projects. Like how, like you obviously that's pretty insane to sell out.
Nah, so I didn't have any whitelists with other projects. I also didn't have any well, I mean, I can't say I didn't have any marketing because I had like, I mean, I didn't have any like formal marketing, but I definitely did have marketing. Like, you know, Brett supported me. Our friend Sebastian and him mentioned it in like a YouTube video. And my Twitter was just exploding at the time. So there was like, that is marketing. I shouldn't say there's no marketing, but it was like organic connections. Right. And again, that's not something that is that hard to do. Like there are NFT Twitters that have one post that literally just make a cool profile picture that put like, hey, you know, interact with this for a whitelist, and people want to be in on something early so bad that they get 1,000 followers in an hour. Like it just, you know what I mean? It happens. But then if you deliver an actually value-backed product like we did, it performs very well on secondary, and the market, it will be right. But yeah.
I mean, that's just amazing. 44 minutes, you sell out, and now any of the champs only pass holders get access to the calls and the trades. Where'd this NFT Steve Jobs come from though? I mean, that's a pretty baller title, man. I mean, that's a pretty huge claim.
I literally just, it's cause I wear a lot of turtlenecks. So I was just looking at myself in the camera, filming the video, and I just randomly said it. Like there was no thought. There's like zero thought. There's never any thought in those video intros, by the way. I never planned it out beforehand.
So it's just literally just like going off the cuff, just saying, doing it. I mean, so much of, you know, what I've learned so far about this space is just like content is king. Doing it like in action is the worst thing you could do. It's like, it's literally content. You're producing content. How do you like think about now that you know, again, 900 followers to 50,000 followers in less than a month? You had no YouTube channel. Now you have almost 20,000 on YouTube. Like, how do you think about moving forward then? Like, how do you process and think about what's next?
Yeah. I keep the way that I stay calm is by working, literally. Because when I sit here and I think about what's happening, all at once, I kind of start to realize how much is happening, and it's really intimidating. So instead of doing that, I just keep growing it as fast as I can, and you sort of adjust along the way. It does not feel nearly as crazy as it did like the day that we launched. And it's like, I had that first week was literally like, oh my gosh. I still feel like I just broke out of the matrix. That's how it feels. It feels like that, you know, this was not supposed to happen, but that's the opportunity that these things afford you. And as far as what I'm going to do moving forward, keep applying all the same principles I apply now, hopefully with a lot more elegance and intelligence and sort of, just the more time I spend doing it, I imagine the better I'll get at these things. Production value will go up. By the way, I'm getting a new camera. I know it looks horrible. I'm getting a new camera. I'm getting lights. I'm getting everything. But it's just, I just know that like the central tenet of making all of this work is the work ethic. I think there's a lot of efficacy to the work smarter, not harder thing, but I also think that there's no replacement for just working your ass off all the time. So
Hey, you're building the plane while flying it. So I
that's
guess
literally what I was about to say. I was literally about to say that.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, Champ, I guess for those that aren't following you, where can they catch you? And give me a quick little overview of why should someone be part of Champs Only Pass, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, wonderful. All of my socials, my Instagram, my Twitter are both just Champ T Graham. So just Champ T GRAM. And my YouTube is just Champ Crypto. As far as, there's sort of two pieces of community, right? There's those who hold the pass, those who don't. Both, in my opinion, are very valuable. Holding the pass is sort of a three-pronged benefits package. The first of which is going to be access to a really rapidly developing suite of tools that are skimming market data in real time, that are all proprietary and that are candidly, I think, best in class in the market as far as getting access to how smart money is moving, what collections are moving before the rest of the world sees it. And on top of that, you're getting information, opinions, calls straight from myself and other people who have had a lot of success trading this market in real time. Because no matter how fast I create this content in such a time sensitive market, really nothing beats the ability for me to come in there and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing literally right now before I've even done it. This is what I'm looking at right now. And that, of course, sparks a lot of discussions with a lot of the bright minds that we have in there. And I think the results speak for themselves. I have a testimonials channel in the Discord, and it's enlightening to say the least. People have been having the type of success based on what we're doing that I didn't even think would happen before we launched it. I've been extraordinarily pleased with that. And then third, our whitelist spots. So, one of the easiest ways to win in the NFT space is, of course, to get on the whitelist, or for those who aren't really in the Web3 space, think of it like an IPO. You get in on the early base level, ground level price of a collection. Then when it goes public, the demand versus supply is very high, spikes in price instantly. If you want to take profits, it's essentially free profits if you get whitelist on the right projects. And obviously, having the influence that I have, network that I have, we're able to provide those to our holders who otherwise would not have been able to do that. So those are sort of the three key benefits. But outside of that, as far as, that's kind of why you want to hold a pass. If you want to follow the brand, I still put 10, 15 hours a day, 7 days a week into creating content that exists outside of that, as I'm still supplying in near real time my opinions on the market and sometimes certain collections on my Twitter. And my YouTube is sort of the more detailed analysis piece where I take everything and put it into 10 minutes every day, always every day. And I like to think that I am the most straightforward, no frills NFT content creator. I literally just give out information every day. I don't, like I literally just see things and then I say them. And I think that's resonated really well with the audience and is a piece of why we've grown so fast. So that's who we are. And I say we because the brand is growing very rapidly and will dwarf myself hopefully soon. And yeah, that's what we do. We'd love to have anybody on here come be a part of it, again, over on the Twitter, on the YouTube. And Jeremy, I appreciate you having me on here to evangelize a little bit.
Dude, Champ, Mr. NFT Steve Jobs, thank you for being on Minted. Hit that subscribe, get that like, join Champs Only Pass, get those real lifetime trades anytime you can. Thanks for being on, brother.
And make sure you sub with notifications on. for my boy Jeremy right here. Absolutely crushing it, leading the charge, Web 2 to Web 3. This podcast is going to do amazing things. If me, Brett, and all the other NFT influencers he knows have anything to say about it. So stick around and I'll see you guys soon. Thank you, Jeremy.
See ya.